Hey, what is going on, everybody? I hit the intro at first, didn't want to come up. You saw us for half a second, but the intro played. So you already know it's the basis of the podcast. It is our opportunity to bring you the latest that's going on around the MLB, along with some lightheartedness. We keep it family friendly.
Family
We definitely
friendly.
do that. That's what it's all about, family friendly. Hey, what's going on, Jory? And tonight's going to be myself, Trajan. Aaron's not able to make it on the show tonight, but we'll still put together a definitely a good episode for you. We'll talk about the All Star game, which happened last week. We weren't on last week, so we'll give you some of our thoughts based off of that. We had some history happen today around the MLB. We'll talk about that. A no hitter was thrown. We're starting to see those. It seems like more and more often now, but it's still a big deal. Like anytime you can mow down 27, go 9 innings in an era where a lot of pitchers can barely go 6 innings. So we'll talk about that and some other things. Like I said, once you never know where our conversation will end up, but before we get into everything, Trajan, how are you doing tonight?
Doing good. We're doing good on this side. Right now, I'm currently watching Georgia and Florida State from the Orange Bowl last year. I don't know why they're replaying that game. It's 63-3 right now. I don't know why we're replaying this game, but like Kylie told me before we started, I mean, it's just to get Georgia fans hyped up. It can't be for the
Yeah,
Florida State fans out there. And maybe it's for the college football committee. Like, hey, you got it right. You got it right, keeping them out of there. But
right,
doing
right.
good. Doing good on this then. Great stuff. Great. I mean, it was I mean, the All-Star game happened. I don't really know what to make of it yet. I'm been pondering my thoughts on that, but otherwise doing good.
Okay, that's good. Um, so yeah. Well, first, I got to bring up our little board here because we do like to show you everything that happened around the league. So, like I said, to get started, we'll talk about the All Star game. We only have one game that's still going on, the A's and the Angels. So we'll get into some of the other games a little bit later. But the All Star game, it happened. It was what you expect. You had your home run derby with the new format, which I guess I want to start there with you with that. Do you like the new format? Actually, you got to see it play out in front of you. Are you a fan of it or not?
I'm gonna go with no. I'm gonna be honest.
Okay.
I think they were trying to make it more exciting, but I think it went backwards. I mean, we're talking about, we had a couple years before where guys were hitting 40 home runs and they were hitting
Mm-hmm.
30 home runs. And our championship was what was it, 14 won it by Teoscar Hernandez, and Bobby had 13, or was it 15-4? It was a one difference there, but very low numbers. And I thought that was odd.
Mm-hmm.
I thought that was odd, but I don't know. I'm not a fan of that new format just because, I mean, if they're going for excitement, it didn't excite me. It really didn't excite me. I thought it was cool to see Bobby Witt somehow. I did not expect Bobby Witt to make it through. I didn't
Yeah.
expect Teoscar Hernandez to make it through. Honestly, I didn't expect the Final Four to be what the Final Four was. You had
Mm-hmm.
Marcelo Zuna, Pete Alonso, who are the other two big boppers in there? Oh, I had Garcia from the Rangers, and who the heck am I missing there? I'm missing another one. Either like
Alonso
Jose
Garcia,
Ramirez was in there.
Ramirez. Yeah.
I figured those three, and then take a name out of a hat. That'll be the fourth guy, and then from there it's going to be Pete Alonso and Marcel, or Gunnar Henderson. Gunnar Henderson's in
That's right.
there.
Yeah.
It's going to be one of those guys, and we got the complete opposite of that, and
Mm-hmm.
that was surprising, right? But was part of that because of the time limit? Maybe. It's 4 minutes, but it's rapid fire. You have to timely use that timeout like, usual. But I mean, it just didn't excite me. It really didn't. I thought it was kind of a letdown. I don't know if that was because like Pete Alonso did struggle. I
Mm-hmm.
can't remember who was pitching to him there. Was it one of his old minor league coaches or something like that? But I thought he struggled. I thought the
Mm-hmm.
pitchers weren't that great. I thought Pete Alonso struggled in the same suit. Garcia, I was really surprised by his round.
Yeah.
That baffled me. I thought he. I mean, you look at the guy, it's like this dude is all arm and he's gonna launch some balls, but it was the opposite for him too. Gunnar, it's like Gunnar wasn't. It's tough. It really is tough. Gunner's not just a solely a power hitter, and for him to try to transition to drop down and now we're just trying to launch the ball. It's a different kind of swing. So I get it with some of these young guys. Bobby Witt had to adjust really fast because his swing has nothing to do with the home run. And he had to adjust that really fast to trying to hit home runs. But I mean, it was different. It was definitely different. I just don't feel like they improved the home run derby by adding these new rules. I really don't think they did. I think they might have went backwards with the new rules they put in.
And I could see that because I've heard that from some people as well. For me, I feel like they're onto something with the new rules, but they probably could tweak it a little. Because I do think what baseball was trying to get away from was, yeah, you had 10 outs, but you remember you had like no time limit, and there'd be guys who would hit a couple of home runs and then miss on a couple, and then would just stand there and take like 10 pitches before they want to swing again. So I think baseball didn't want that because that kind of goes with like the pitch clock and everything. That's downtime of a guy just standing there with, lobbing pitches in when, like, to the casual fan watching, it's like, this guy's not like throwing you curves and sliders. Like, what's coming. What do you need a break for? So I do think the time aspect of it, I like. I think where some people may have a disconnect is the pitch limit. So maybe they go back to 10 outs, but associate a time limit with it. So that if you want to take pitches, then you have to be smart about it. Because then when you want to ramp back up, you may be short on time, and then now you're losing out on that end. So maybe that's where they go with it. So this could have been, like I said, the 10 outs with no time was one extreme. Maybe this was the other extreme. And who knows, maybe they come in the middle and do, like I said, you get 10 outs and maybe you get 3 minutes or something. And that way you have to pace yourself, but also be mindful of the clock. And maybe that's where we end up in, a couple of years or something. Like, I thought it was okay. It was weird that, we were on here before talking about how Alec Bohm shouldn't be in it. And then he goes out there and has a really great performance.
Yep.
Aaron was talking about like he's a doubles hitter and everything, but he's something he managed to, he pulled it down the line a lot, which obviously is a shorter distance, but it's also smart because why attack the big part of the ballpark? So it was interesting that like the top four that you can see, like the Vegas odds, were all eliminated early, and we were left with like the bottom four guys fighting it out. And look, the ending for an event like you said, it didn't like captivate you anyway. That ending was great. Came down to the last swing, Witt hitting it off the wall for Teoscar Hernandez to win. Like, that was a great ending. So I do think baseball's onto something, but they probably could tweak the rules a little bit. I would agree with that.
It's like classic baseball, though, changing too much at the same time. Like you said, tweaking things slow. It's like they went for everything, just like they did with, all of our rule changes with the bigger bases and only throwing over so many times in the pitch clock. And, the batter's got to be in a certain amount of time. Baseball's got this thing where they love to make up new rules. They love to make up new things that, everybody has to abide by, but they do it so fast. They don't give you, we'll start with a pitch clock. Then we'll get to the batter's got to be in at this time. And then we'll get to the bigger bases. It's like we just throw it all at you. Same with the home run derby here. It's like we're going to change the whole thing up, and then we're going to see how it works. I mean, that works in hindsight if, like you said, okay, now we look at it, we backtrack a little bit. We say, hey, the time limit worked, but the total pitches didn't, because looking at some of these guys, they were 30 pitches in and there's like 30 seconds left. And then they're like rapid fire. And it's like, it's hard to keep up with that. So, I mean, you could, I don't know. I was just thinking about taking the clock out and doing the reverse of that and just doing pitches, but that would extend the amount of time, I guess, that it would take. You have more time in between. It's tough. I wouldn't want to. I wouldn't have changed it. I would have just left it what it was, and because we've had some exciting home run derbies that way too. So I mean, it's not like it's not exciting. People still tune in. Like you said, the ending was very exciting. I wish Bobby Witt would have had that go over because then forced a playoff. That'd been cool to
Hmm.
see at the end of that. It was just so odd. I mean, it was like Mac McClung winning the slam dunk contest. I mean, you have a G leaguer winning the slam dunk contest in the NBA. And I mean, I'm not saying that Alec Boehm and Bobby Witt and Teoscar Hernandez are G leaguers, but they're not home run guys. Like those are
Hmm.
far from the guys that I expect to walk out there and just hit bombs for me. And to see them in the finals, it was kind of, I mean, if you would have asked somebody who's going to win the home run derby and they saw the list, those guys are your bottom. Those guys aren't even up at the top. And now we're talking
Right.
about them as Bobby Witt and Teoscar were the final two. And, Alec Boehm was in the round before that. And I'm pretty sure it was Jose Ramirez, too. He doesn't hit a lot of home runs in his own. I mean, he does, but he doesn't. He's not a
Hmm.
big home run hitter, right? So, I mean, just odd. Just an odd home run derby, to be honest with you. Maybe it was the way that it fizzled out too. I mean, Pete
Yeah.
struggled, Garcia struggled, and so did Marcelo Zuna. I mean, like you said, Bohm using the short side of the ballpark. Pete, Ozuna, and Garcia, it seemed like they were trying to go dead center the entire time of their at
Yeah.
bats. It's like, guys, just pull it. Like, holy crap. But I mean, yeah, that could have been part of it too, because you get to a final round of Teoscar Hernandez and Bobby Witt. How many home runs do you think you're really going to see? Like there isn't going to be a lot between those two guys. Now, if it was an extra base hit competition, those would be the guys you'd want on there. They're going to start launching triples in that, but that could have had part to do with it. Not seeing maybe next year, maybe we see like Pete, we see Ozuna, but then we see like Aaron Judge say, "Hey, I'm gonna jump in," and then we see
Hmm.
guys like Shohei Ohtani jump in, and then you get some of your big boppers going, and then it's like, okay, this is what we want to see versus lesser home runs because the guys hitting them aren't. I mean, they're not home run guys, and that could have been a lot to do with it too. I don't know. It was just. I mean, I know we're gonna get into it a second here, but the whole All Star experience, honestly, to me this season was not as exciting as what it has been. I thought that both things were like I watched them both. I enjoyed them both, but it was I could have not watched this and just watched the replay and been like, okay, that was good. It was one of those couple days that I not a lot of excitement, I guess, for me is what I'm trying to get at.
Yeah. I mean, like I said, I think I understand that. I mean, look, the biggest thing that might have come from the All Star break was the national anthem
Yeah.
because that was all over social media. People were well, one, I think people were, the some who may not have known who she was were trying to figure out who she was, like what does she do, like what all that, and then her message of after it about some of the things that she has to deal with and everything like that, like that might have been the biggest storyline out of it. Which I guess if you're looking at it as a baseball fan, probably isn't a good thing. I mean, I thought the introductions for like the home run derby and everything were kind of cool, but those are introductions. Like it's hard to mess that up. I I think with the game itself, like I wasn't a big fan of the jerseys, and I think that
Yeah.
kind of like I feel like that set the mood for a lot of people. It was just like I feel like if you're either gonna do they wear their own jersey, or if you're gonna do just like an American League, National League themed jersey, it can't be dull. The American League one
Yep.
looked dull to me, and it's like that just doesn't match. It's supposed to be like eye popping or something like that, and those just weren't. And I feel like that took away from some of the experience as well. Um, I mean, look, as a Red Sox fan, I got the highs and lows of it. Tanner Houck gave up that bomb to Shohei Ohtani, but then Duran had his home run. So I was like, okay, and then Duran wins MVP. So I love that. But yeah, I don't know. It did kind of miss out a little bit.
Well, and like you're talking wearing their own jerseys. I don't get why we don't just, the City Connect jerseys. You're representing your team, you're representing your city when you go to the All-Star
That's
game.
actually not a bad idea.
Everybody
That's not
wear
a
your
bad
City
idea.
Connect jerseys. Like that would be cool. As some of the City Connect jerseys suck, so it'd probably be the same thing. But I mean, just rep your City Connect jerseys. I think that
Mhm.
would be awesome to debut them, showcase them, whatever on the main stage with everybody there. I think that would be the best thing to do. Jerseys. I like the idea of wearing your own jersey. I do. These,
Mhm.
like you said, it was bland. It was dull. It was like looking at the Padres jerseys, the brown with the yellow that they got. It's just gross. I mean, it looks like a
Mhm.
pile of turds that they're wearing on their chest. Like, not a fan of those jerseys whatsoever. And shots at Padres fans. I'm sorry. I'm not sorry, but I am sorry a little bit. I don't know. I don't like Machado. But, I mean,
Yeah.
that
Not a
would be
lot
a
of people
simple
do.
fix to that. No, nobody does. I don't even think Oriole fans like him anymore. Dodger fans probably hate him now. It's Padre fans that like him. That's about it. And I don't even know if they
Yeah.
like him, to be honest with you. So, but I mean, it would be such a simple fix. Just City Connect jerseys. Let them wear them. It's your jersey then. It's one that you got that you're bringing along, but I think it'd be cool. I think it'd be cool to see
Mhm.
them there. That All-Star game, there was some good portions to it, but we're leading up into the first inning, and it's like, oh, we get to see this epic matchup: Paul Skeens versus Aaron Judge. One pitch, it was over, and that's
Mhm.
nobody's fault. I'm not blaming that on anybody's fault there. I mean, Aaron Judge ripped it. He pulled the crap out of it. He ripped it on the ground, and got the out, whatever. But it was like the moments weren't there. It wasn't like there was. I mean, like Duran's bomb. That was cool. That was cool to see there. Seeing Paul Skeens be a rookie starting in the All-Star game. That was cool. If you're a Pirates fan, I wasn't all for it. I'm going to tell you that much now. I really did think guys like Chris Sale definitely, I believed, more deserving just because they've done it for longer. And some of the other guys that we could mention in that same token, they had struggled throughout the a little bit of a stretch in June, so it was a little bit tougher to pick them there. And it was good for baseball to have Paul Skeens in there too. But
Mhm.
I mean, it's just it didn't excite me. It really did not excite me. I go into these All-Star games. The NBA All-Star game sucks. The NFL, it's flag football. I mean, that's enough said about that. It's flag football
Yeah.
now. It's not even football. Like, there's kids playing flag football. Come on, let's hit each other. Outside of that, I mean, the NHL one is good. I think NHL is good. MLB's always been good. And this season, it was just, I don't know, just kind of a bland, like almost like you're watching a regular season baseball game between your team and somebody else. Like, that's what I was watching there. Just game 83 of the season versus a nobody team that you really don't care about beating. Like, that's what I got out of it. I didn't
Mhm.
get much. The national anthem, that absolutely stunk. That was a stinker. Checked herself into therapy the next day. I
Yeah.
hope, all jokes aside, I hope she gets the help that she needs and she gets better.
Mhm.
Like, that's what we're hoping for there. Because I mean, when I saw a 4-time Grammy winner and that was the voice that they paired with it, I was like, 4-time auto-tune Grammy winner. Because if that's the voice that we're putting with Grammys now, they suck. So to to get the backstory behind it now, that's great that she's getting the
Yeah.
help that she needs. Glad to see it. I thought the national anthem, speaking of national anthems, the MLB saved themselves the next night when they had Cody Johnson come do it there. That was fantastic. His rendition, is that the word? I'm trying to think of big words here.
Rendition.
Rendition, there we go. His
Yes.
rendition of the national anthem then the next night before the All-Star game, that was beautiful. It was fantastic. I'm a big Cody Johnson fan over here, but that was great. And I think it kind of saved that whole, conundrum there, because they would have had, like,
Mhm.
I don't know, Katy Perry or somebody come out, like, it could have ruined the entire national anthem for that entire, all-star festivity. So I'm glad that they saved it in that moment. But all in all, I'm not going to say it was a complete, waste of time and everything like that, but it was just bland. It was no craziness, no excitement. they don't really. There's nothing to play for anymore, is there? They don't. It's not the home field advantage thing anymore,
No.
right? I mean, it's not. So it's one of those things where maybe, and we saw it in other sports too, where it used to be something to play for. Now it's nothing. Sometimes when you put the little bit of an edge on, like, hey, you get home field advantage during the World Series, you have teams like, your Yankee stars or your Dodger stars or teams, players off of those teams, they're trying a little bit harder because home field advantage for the World Series is big. Maybe they have to implement that back into it just to try and make it. I don't know if that makes it more exciting. I don't know if it does, but
I don't
maybe
think it
play.
does.
No, but
Because, well, you got to think of it this way. If you're an all-star from the Marlins and you feel like your team's not going to be in the World Series anyway, just because home field advantage is on the line, I'm like, my team's not going to be there. What do I care?
No, exactly. I mean, it's a flip of a coin. You're either on the Dodgers where you're playing for it, or you're on the Marlins where you don't care. It feels like it means more. I don't know. I guess to me, when I always thought about it, when it was playing for home field advantage, or even if you put it in the NBA, playing for home court advantage, something that the All-Star game is meant for, I guess. Maybe that spices it up a little bit, right? Makes the outcome of it more, relevant, right? But I mean, you could have gone without knowing what happened at the All-Star game. Your casual fans could have gone without knowing what happened at the All-Star game and survived the rest of the season. I mean, that's kind of where my discretion, because a casual fan, they're like, oh, why are the Dodgers? Why did they get home field advantage? And then they go, oh, they won the All-Star game, or not. Well, they didn't win the All-Star game, but the NL won the All-Star game. Okay, that makes sense now. So I guess it just spices things up in that that kind of category. But yeah, I mean, all in all, just kind of a bland week. And then I get bored without baseball on, so I don't know what to watch, right? So I'm watching the Capital One Orange Bowl between Georgia and Florida State. I've watched it twice now, and it's still the same outcome at the end. Florida State still sucks. They still suck. I don't know what to tell you. They still suck.
I mean, yes, that it was, like you said, weird those days without games going, but they are back. So I guess the transition from the All-Star game, we had a no-hitter today from Dylan Cease. He gets out of Chicago. He's with the Padres, no hits the Nationals, and by doing so, joined a pretty exclusive club. So Dylan Cease is now one of 6 pitchers to know the heartbreak and the jubilation of a no-hitter, in that with the White Sox, he had a no-hitter that he took into the 9th, 2 outs, gave it up. So that's the bad part. But then today, he obviously finished the job. If I were to ask you if you knew the other 5 pitchers, how many do you think you probably would know?
That's rough. Current pitchers? Is there any current pitchers on there?
Hold on. I can tell you. No.
Oh, that's even worse. Nolan Ryan.
No.
Wow. Okay.
It seems like anytime you ask a pitching question, Nolan Ryan's like an easy answer to throw.
Yeah, it's got to be the easiest one, right? He had to.
Nolan Ryan is not a part of it. No.
That's because
I will say that there's one pitcher is probably the most notable. He pitched for the Phillies, pitched for the Blue Jays.
Phillies and Roy Halladay.
Roy Halladay is one of them.
Okay. The other ones must be tough then, huh?
Yes, because I think the other one, there's one who was also a Blue Jay, but back in the day.
No boy.
I believe he pitched in the, I want to say 80s and early 90s.
Oh, that's
there's another kind of well-known pitcher. He pitched for the Mets.
Oh, that'll give it to me. There. Does Matt Harvey have one?
No.
The Dark Knight couldn't have one. Like, how recent are we talking with this Mets pitcher? Because that's pretty wide. You give me a wide net to try and
I gotta
scoop through
go.
here.
Let's see. He
Bartolo
pitched.
Colon. Come on.
Yeah, you gotta go before that.
Oh, before that. Wowza.
I mean, this is a guy. He went into the Hall of Fame in like '92. Pitched in probably the '70s.
Oh, wowza. This is the guy from the Mets that you want me to guess right now.
Yeah.
There's probably a Mets fan out there who's yelling through the mic right now, telling me that I'm an idiot. Mets in the 70s. I couldn't even guess it.
Yeah, I was looking up to make sure I had the right decade, but Tom Seaver.
Oh, come on, son of a gun. Oh,
The other ones are Dave Steeb,
no,
uh,
couldn't guess that.
Larry Dirker, and Jim Maloney.
Yeah, there's no way.
Yeah,
Tom Seaver was the last one I knew on that list of like that
right.
being a person.
Those are the two that I figured you might be able to get to, Halliday and Seaver. But
Well, he gave me a
Dylan
wide
Cease,
net with the Mets. He just said the
I
Mets.
know.
I was like, oh, that's a lot of pitchers.
But now Dylan Cease joins that club, and look, he's a guy who got out of purgatory in Chicago. I mean, he's in San Diego, where once again they're not necessarily having the best season. If you look at kind of the talent that they do have, but I mean, it's always exciting to see a no hitter because once you get to like the seventh and eighth inning, you see like the pitch count getting up there. Like at that moment, it's the guy's kind of getting tired. One mistake, he could lose it, and normally with a no hitter, you have to have like a really good defensive play behind you and everything like that. Like it's still pretty exciting to see a no hitter. I mean, I guess the only thing better would be like a complete game, but I mean, you very rarely get one of those because that's just even tougher. Like not walking anybody or anything like that. But yeah, so I mean, Dylan Cease with the Padres, no hitter on the Nationals. I mean, I guess that's a decent opponent to try one off of. The Nationals
The
aren't.
Nationals.
Nationals aren't having that good of a season.
Jesse Winker's the best player on that team. I'm just kidding. He's not the best, but wow. Do you know who got the hit against Dylan Cease with the Twins?
Uh, okay, so let me think.
I'll give you a hint. He's currently a teammate of Dylan Cease with the Padres.
Oh, jeez. I gotta think about all the Padres.
Don't think too far. Don't think too hard. Come on. Twins. He went to another location and then he went to the Padres.
Why am I drawing a blank right now? Because it's like Machado, Tatis, got Cronenworth.
Work around the infield.
Bogarts.
They just acquired him not too long ago.
I'm literally drawing a blank on their roster right now.
He won. He was up for the batting title. I don't know if he won the batting title, but
Arias.
Arias got the hit against Dylan Cease to break up his no-hitter for the Twins, and then he made one of the final plays of the game for Dylan Cease to get the no-hitter against the Nationals. That's crazy. That might be a crazier stat than being one of the 6 people to actually blow a save. And I mean, to have the guy who made you blow the save make a play for you to keep the no-hitter alive. That's got to be one of the only times that's ever happened. There probably isn't even a stat out there because nobody had the time to go back and figure it out. But I mean, that's wild. I saw that stat. I was like, wow, I never thought about that. I truthfully forgot Luis Arias was with the Twins at one point.
Yeah, because since then he's gone to the Marlins and now the Padres. Yeah,
I think he was in the Jorge Lopez. I think he was in that Jorge Lopez swap. The Twins got Lopez. Arias went down to the Marlins. There's probably more involved in it, but I believe that was the deal.
That sounds right.
Now I got to figure it out.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, look, that's definitely one of those cool occurrences that can happen in baseball every once in a while. It's one of those moments that are exciting, and obviously for baseball, you try to capture more moments like that. But I do bring that up because now with the unofficial second half of the MLB season, that means it's trade season. Trade deadline's coming up. So I feel like looking around the league, who are some teams that need to make a move? Like they can't risk standing pat thinking that they're gonna, get to the promised land.
I lied. It was Pablo Lopez, not Jorge Lopez. I lied on that deal.
Okay.
It was Pablo Lopez for Luis Arias. But then they got Byron Churio and Jose Salas, the Twins did. You know what the best part about that deal is? None of those guys are currently doing much of anything. And Arias is still Arias. So
yes.
the Twins definitely fumbled that trade in total there. Teams that have to make moves.
Yes.
Okay, so I have to quick pull up my team chart here because I have to look at them in front of my face to remember.
Yeah.
I would say if I was going to be a guy making moves right now, the Braves, if they feel like they have any chance, if they feel like they still have a chance of making a move, I don't know if they think they can win the NL East just because the Phillies are so good. But if, not to come back is going to be the tough part. 9.5 games back. The Phillies are playing good baseball. It'll be tough to come back now. But if they feel like they have a shot when it comes to playoffs, just because the pitching staff has been decent, I think the Braves, they got to make a move. They've been banged up, though. I mean, Ozzie Albies is out now, too. I mean, that whole team seems to be like, it's just one of those years for the Braves. It sucks. Mm-hmm. It really does. I mean, seeing some of the stars that they have, and if they had those stars, the difference that we could see from what the Braves are looking like now to what, usually we see out of the Braves, it's a night and day difference. I'm impressed that they've stayed pat with what they've been going at. I mean, they're still above 500. They're still playing good baseball, right? I mean, they should have beat the Mets today. Romano Laureano, he overran a fly ball. Mets scored a run, walked it off. Like, just a blunder of a play. Not much you can do about it. But, I mean, the Braves would be one for me. I don't know about the Mets. That's tough. The Mets are in the playoff picture. They're almost trending towards next season. They make all these moves. So if I'm the Mets, I kind of sit stagnant. I mean, you're playing competitive, good baseball right now. You're going to either have the Braves or the Mets catching the Phillies up there, and I don't think either one's going to be able to. So if I'm the Mets, I sit stagnant right now. Padres, what more can you add? Like, it just seems like people go out to San Diego and they just suck. I don't know what it is. It really baffles me because you put together a team like that and you would just expect something good, and it just seems like guys go out there and nothing good comes out of it. So the Padres are a tough one. NL for me, I would say Cardinals, Braves, maybe the Mets, maybe the Padres. Maybe those teams make a move. I could see that. The Dodgers will try. I think the Dodgers will make a move. Do they need to? I don't think so, but I think they will. The Phillies, same boat. The team that is going to interest me the most, and sadly, it's my Brewers. Christian Yelich is now out. He's on the IL now with that back. He just saw a specialist today for his back. And, well, he's going to try and rehab it, but the odds are, it's like, it's 50-50. It's 50-50 if Yelich is going to play or not. So now that puts the Brewers in a really tough spot because now not only do you need starting pitching, you could use bullpen help, and you could also use a veteran, I don't know, like a Luis Robert or something in the outfield, right? Because if you're missing Yelich, that's a big hole in the lineup. The Brewers have they have younger guys to slot in there on defense. Like, you don't have to worry about finding a guy to throw in there every day. But the production of Yelich is going to be tough to replace. The Brewers are in the toughest spot. I would say, I'll be honest with you, out of all the NL teams, the Brewers are in the toughest spot right now because I don't know where to go. You know, the pitching staff needs help, like really bad. And the bullpen could use help. So I guess the bullpen gets pushed off on the back burner. You try and survive without it. But now with this Yelich injury, that puts in, now we have to go after a bat. And, you know, a lot of people in, you know, Wisconsin, they probably don't agree with me. Like, why do we need a bat? We still have, you know, the offense is still okay, everything like that. Christian Yelich is a huge part to that offense. He is above a 300 average on the season. He is near the top of the Brewers in RBIs. Extra base hits. He's been really good this year. He was actually on pace before the All-Star break. He was on the same pace as he was in 2018 when he won the MVP. Like, that's the kind of guy we're talking about right now. It's hard to replace that. Just, you know, bring a guy up, right? It's always the hope you can just bring a guy up. But are you going to be able to trust a second-year player who is, I mean, still developing in the playoffs? Can you trust that? Same with the starting rotation. You have Freddie Peralta, but honestly, look yourself in the mirror and say, I can trust Freddie Peralta in game 1 of the NLCS against Zach Wheeler from the Phillies, and you can expect him to go out there and not give up, you know, 3 runs, because Zach Wheeler doesn't give up 3 runs. He's a 1 to 2 runs a game kind of guy. You know, sometimes you can get to Wheeler, but you know what I mean? Your ace of your staff, you need that game to be settled down where it's tough to score runs. Guys have been finding ways to score runs against the Brewers rotation. I don't know. For me, NL-wise, those are my teams, but the Brewers are in the most interesting and tough spot out of all of them. They are in the toughest it's going to be extremely hard for the Brewers to manage the trade deadline. And if they won't start, because Matt Arnold, GM for the Brewers, and Mark Antanasio, they don't like dealing out the prospects. They're not one of those teams that likes throwing them around. So it's going to be tough. I think the Brewers are in the toughest spot there. In the AL, I see Baltimore making moves. The Yankees will have to make some moves. I really do see your Red Sox, if they will not make a blockbuster move, but they will make a move. I don't think it's going to be anything crazy. I think they'll make like maybe like a Bassett from the, you know, he's with the Blue Jays. I don't know if they trade in the division there, but like one of those kinds of starters where it's not like front line, you know, front newspaper kind of stuff, but it's like solid arm or, you know, a solid bat, not a great bat. Maybe they get Justin Turner back, right? You know, something just crazy like that. I don't know. The Red Sox, I see making a move, just nothing crazy, like an average move. Like, we're in, but we're not in. Like, we're still in this rebuild phase, but we think we're a little ahead of the game, so we're going to try and make a move. The AL Central, Guardians will make a move. They'll make a move. I believe they'll probably try to add in that starting pitching room. I think they'll try to grab a starter, maybe a reliever in there. You know, the Twins, I feel like they're in the same boat. I believe the Kansas City Royals will be in the same boat as the Red Sox. I think they're going to make, you know, one of those deals where it's not, you know, this crazy deal, but it's going to be a deal of some sort. You know, I don't know, an average position player, an average starting pitcher, just something simple. The AL West, Houston adds. Seattle's offense sucks. I really don't know what else to say besides that offense sucks. I don't know, you know, what do you do if you're Seattle? Like, do you add? Your pitching's fine. Do you add? You have to change the whole freaking lineup? Like, what do you do? They just suck. They're like ranked 30th. I saw the stats today. They're like 30th in every offensive stat. And then you look at the pitching, it's like 1st, 6th, 1st, 5th, like all the way down the list. It's like, this is exhausting to look at. Like, how do you guys suck this bad on offense? The Rangers, I feel like, will add too. The AL West might be crazy. That's going to be the arms race because those top 3 teams are still in position to try and race for first. So I feel like those top 3 teams are going to add. I think they're going to go crazy. I just don't know what the Mariners do. I guess you can answer that one when you talk because you're probably going to say the Mariners need to add too, but what do you do? I mean, the offense is just terrible. Do you trade the pitching coach or trade the hitting coach? That's what you do. Trade the hitting coach, try to grab a new one out there. I don't know, something along those lines because they just suck. I don't know.
Yeah, but and you know, you bring up a good point with the Mariners in that your pitching is so dominant, but your offense stinks. So on one hand, it's good because every team at the trade deadline needs pitching. But as the Mariners front office, do you weaken your pitching rotation to hopefully fix the offense enough that you don't lose out on the pitching that you're going to lose? And if your lineup is so far gone that just bringing in a bat or two won't fix it, then it's like, what's the point? You just go forward with it, hope the pitching can carry you in the playoffs, and hope that maybe one guy just has a crazy October and just goes off at the plate and you're able to spin that into a deep run. Then it's like, remember, this is a team that, the Astros were out of it early and the Mariners didn't take advantage of it. So you're looking at it now and it's like the Astros caught up. They moved ahead of you. So now, are you as good as you thought you were, to the point that you actually are impulsed to buy at the deadline? Because now you're fighting for a wild card instead of being a division winner. And I think there's a few teams that are in that boat, because you mentioned the Red Sox. The Red Sox are the same way. Red Sox have guys that are injured that are coming back, but you can't really count those as acquisitions like a lot of front offices like to do. It's like, oh, how come you guys didn't spend at the deadline? Well, this guy came back from the injury list. It's basically like an acquisition for this season. So if you're a Red Sox fan like myself, you're looking at it as, okay, you've overachieved. You're right there on the wild card. Why not buy? I agree with you. I think they will. And it's not going to be something that Red Sox fans are going to necessarily like, but it'll be a move like a back end of the rotation or a bullpen arm, because the bullpen has been taxed lately, as evidence from the Rockies series, where because of, Pivetta struggling, only going 2 innings, your bullpen was out there for extended innings and got rocked. So it seems like it's a bullpen that could use some type of injection from a new player. And you also mentioned the Braves. The Braves are in a situation where their front office is really good. Their system is really good. They have a lot of injuries. And if a couple of guys came back and you make it as a wild card, we've seen in baseball, wild card teams make the World Series all the time. So for them, it's like, we don't want to necessarily tax our future to buy this season when we might actually be good enough to win it all if we just get in. And a lot of those teams that are there in the middle, that's where the trade deadline really gets interesting. Because, look, we know teams like the A's and stuff will sell. That's already written. But it's those teams in the middle that could buy or could sell or could stand pat that makes it either an exciting trade deadline or a boring one. Because, the Orioles, you figure they're going to go after an arm. The Yankees need bats. I was watching Yankees-Mets series, and they put a stat that Judge and Soto, I think together, are hitting 308. The rest of their lineup hits 230. And that's been an issue the Yankees have had year in and year out, where they're so reliant on Judge to carry them. Now at least he has Soto. But after that, you're relying on guys like Verdugo, who's very streaky. You have like Volpe and these guys that just aren't that good at hitting. Because that Mets series was nothing but guys getting on base and being stuck there because nobody can get a hit. So you figure the Yankees are going to be in the market for a bat, but so are so many other these other teams. Once again, you said the Red Sox. Red Sox could use a power bat at first base because they have Dominic Smith there right now, who's not much of a power hitter. He's more of a defender, and he can get you a few good hits. But, Costas is coming back, but that's 2 lefties. You'd like to see maybe a right-handed bat in that lineup. And that's another thing with the expanded wild card. So many teams are still in the race that everybody's looking for the same exact thing. There's only so many guys you can poach off of Oakland or Colorado or, I don't know, pick your other cellar door. The Blue Jays. The Blue Jays are going to be an interesting team as well. Do they sell Bichette? Do they sell Vladdy? I doubt they sell Vladdy because Vladdy's like Mr. Blue Jay. But what do they do? That group that a couple of years ago looked like they were so dangerous for the next few years to come, it hasn't materialized. I mean, they're sitting here as a last place team in the American League East with all that talent. They have to do something, and that pitching staff still isn't good. So what do? I don't know. You brought the Mets. The Mets have the pressure of being in New York, and they were awful early on. It seems like they're getting hot now, but who are the Mets? Are they the team that struggled early? Are they this version? Somewhere in between. The front office has to decide, is that worth investing in? So I think it's going to be a very interesting deadline. Like I said, most of the teams you mentioned, I definitely agree with, and that's kind of interesting. Baltimore and Kansas City as well. I think Kansas City should go for it because Kansas City is not a team that has sustained success. They usually have one really good year and then fade to the background for the next 5, 6, 10 years. So if this is a team with a Bobby Witt who could possibly win an MVP, might as well just push your chips to the middle of the table and see if you can make magic happen like the Diamondbacks last year.
Yeah, no, I would completely agree with that. You brought up the Yankees there and their struggles on offense. Could you see them getting stupid with it though? Selling the farm. Just selling the farm away to get, acquire some big bats to try and entice teams to get rid of a guy or two or whatever it is. Because I could see them getting stupid there with it and, selling it off. I think the most, interesting thing that, is going to lead up to this deadline is there are so many teams that are average. There are so many teams. There's like a big grouping. It's not like teams are running away with anything right now. It is so close in so many races that I just feel like there's going to be so many teams active at the trade deadline. There's a lot of teams that I just don't feel like they're going to trade away everybody. We've gone through seasons where you have 10 or 12 teams that they're selling. You have some teams in the middle, and then you have your big dogs on top. I think that list on the bottom got smaller. Like you were talking basement dwellers. That's a small list. The White Sox, the Athletics. I don't know if you include the Nationals in there. Maybe Jesse Winker, right? There's contracts they would want to unload, but at the same time, there's guys they want to keep, like Lane Thomas. They're not getting rid of Lane Thomas. The Nationals honestly are building towards something. I don't think it's going to be this year. I don't think it's going to be next year, but they're building towards something good here. Same with, like you said, with the Royals there. They could jumpstart it here at the trade deadline and get ahead of the game. So it's going to be one of those deadlines where, like you said, it could go one of two ways. It is going to be crazy, or it's going to be very slow moving. A team makes a move here, a team makes a move there, no blockbusters, nothing crazy happens, and then we just move on. It's going to go one of two ways, I think. I don't think there's a middle ground. I think it's either going to be wild or it's going to be like it happened. There was a couple deals. Now we see Mason Miller get hurt from the Athletics. I thought that was going to be the blockbuster deal because if the Dodgers wanted him or the Yankees, he has a lot of team control left. He has a small contract and he's an electric arm. So somebody was going to deal for him. Now that he's injured, it's just a pinky finger on his non-throwing arm. So maybe that doesn't hinder teams from trying to make a deal for him. But are the Athletics going to sell him? Because if they do, that's your blockbuster deal because there's going to be a lot of teams calling about Mason Miller then. I don't care who you are. Every team out there could use Mason Miller in their bullpen. It's just common sense. Like a flamethrower, good stuff like him. You want him on the roster. That's just plain and simple. So everybody's going to call on him. I don't know. This is going to be a crazy deadline. I really do think I'm going to go to the flip side of being the boring. I'm going to say this is going to be a wild deadline where we're going to see some teams we didn't expect to sell off some guys. We're going to see some teams that we didn't expect to buy big, make huge moves. And I'm just hoping it's my Brewers. I'm just hoping it's my Brewers. We never do. We got Jonathan Scope one year. I thought that was going to be cool. He stunk. Outside of that, we haven't really done anything crazy at the deadline. I want this to be the year. Like, do something crazy. Just get wild with it. I don't know. Give me something.
Yeah, and like looking at the standings, I mean, look, you mentioned your Brewers. They're 3 games, well, not even 3, but like a game and a half, 2 games back of the Dodgers for the second best record in the National League. So the front office could get aggressive to possibly catch them. They're only 5 behind the Phillies, so they could do that. And then if you're looking behind them, the Cardinals are like 6 back. So there's enough of a buffer there that they seem like they should win the Central. But there's also reason to be optimistic and go for it. Because, we know that the Phillies aren't necessarily a perfect team. We know the Dodgers aren't a perfect team. So we could have another postseason like last year where a team like a Diamondbacks that nobody's talking about gets hot, makes a run. So if you're Brewers, if you're Braves, Mets, Padres, why not say like that could be you? And then you're looking at teams just outside the wild card. Like I said, the Cardinals, the Diamondbacks. The interesting ones would be like the Pirates. Pirates are only a game and a half out of a wild card spot. They started off hot, faded away, and have found their way back into a playoff discussion. Like if you're a Pirates fan, you're hoping that your front office does something. Because Pirates fans haven't seen postseason baseball in forever. So if you're close to that position, why not go for it? But the front office may be like, well, we have a plan in place. It's a multi-year thing. We don't want to just sell off people for this season. But why not? The Reds and the Giants are an interesting situation that they're not too far off. I mean, for the Reds, you have some exciting players on that team. If you could sneak into a wild card spot, why not do it? Like, where's the cutoff between, like you said, the Nationals, Rockies, and Marlins teams that seem like they're out of it, and teams like the Cubs, Giants, and Reds, where if they were to sell, you would understand it. If they were to buy, you might think that they're fooling themselves. But that's what this whole season's about. Some teams are going to have crazy expectations that they probably shouldn't. I'm expecting the Cubs probably not to be one of those teams, but who knows? Because like you said, there's going to be some surprise team that's going to make a deal. And a lot of us are going to be like, why would you make that deal? Just to do what?
The Cubs are the Cubs are going to be sellers.
I think so too.
I believe their GM or their owner just came out and he was talking and he said, if they don't get on a win streak, that they're going to be sellers at deadline. So I would almost say like this weekend might be the cutoff. Like they're going to have this weekend series. That's the cutoff. What do we look like coming out of the weekend? And I just feel like they don't have, the problem with the Cubs and their biggest problem heading into this deadline, they have a lot of contracts that are worth a lot of money. Mm-hmm. There is a lot of money tied up into that team. So how do you justify even trying to sell? Like what team is going to say, I want this $19 million pitcher? Like, mm-hmm. I don't want a $19 million pitcher. No way. I'm not adding that to my books. I can get a $10 million pitcher, right? It's just so hard for the Cubs now to even try and sell because who wants the contract? Unless if you're going to keep part of that contract with you, we're not making that trade. So the Cubs are in a bad spot, and I'm here for it. I'm here for it on that one. The Pirates, that's an interesting one. The offense isn't that good. Brian Reynolds is good. O'Neal Cruz he's good. People forget about O'Neal Cruz. He was Elly De La Cruz before Elly De La Cruz showed up. Exactly. O'Neal Cruz isn't that great yet. I was just looking at some of their batting stats. They're 26th in batting average. They're 23rd in home runs, 23rd in stolen bases. It's the pitching staff's good. It's like the Mariners, but a little bit worse in the record department. They have bad offense, good pitching. So for the Pirates to try and go out there and buy at the deadline would be tough. If I'm the Pirates, I sit stagnant.
Yeah.
I don't make a move. Unless if somebody calls and they say, hey, like the Orioles for some reason call and they say, hey, we'll give you Jackson Holiday and there's a couple of other ones. They're slipping my mind of top prospects with the Orioles right now, but we'll give you these guys for Brian Reynolds. Like, okay, see you later, Brian. Like, get over there. Like, we're rebuilding the team now with the offense. If something crazy like that happens. But other than that, I'm sitting stagnant if I'm the Pirates. The Reds, if a deal presents itself, a big time deal, maybe. But you look at these NL Central teams, and like you just said, I mean, the Pirates are close. I don't think they're there this year, but they're close. The Reds, they're close. I don't think they're there this year, but they're close. The Cubs, they're far out. I think that is piss poor management and everything like that. Craig Counsell's way over his head with the Cubs. Different circumstances, different city, different players. It's tough. It's tough. And he's starting to see it now. Cardinals, I don't think they're far off at all. If they can get Goldschmidt or Arenado to start hitting, that team's going to be scary. That team will be scary. They're actually ranked, I believe, second most lucky team in baseball, or they're the luckiest team in baseball. One of the two. So, I mean, the schedule is favorable for them. I really did. I said yesterday on my own show there that at the end of the year, I really do expect the last week of the season, the Cardinals will be within 3 games or less of the Brewers. And I said the Cubs would be right behind them. I don't think that's going to happen. It's going to be like a miracle if they do, but I said the Cubs would find their way back up there. I don't know if that's going to happen anymore. They're starting to suck again, but I mean, the NL Central is going to be, I think that's going to be a crazy finish. I think it will be a crazy finish, and I wouldn't be surprised if the NL Central kind of sits stagnant at the trade deadline just because my Brewers don't make moves. They're just, I don't know why. I don't know why. You would think at some point you would just go all in. They like to avoid that. What says like you said, what says that the Brewers can't put on a miracle run? I mean, this season has been a miracle run for the Brewers. Look what, I mean, change of manager. The roster is completely changed. Do you lose Corbin Burns? Your closer, your all-star closer, Devin Williams, have been out. He's been out since, I mean, before spring training. Like, there is so many things that went against the Brewers, and yet you are still the third best team in the NL. You're currently sitting in the top of the NL Central. Like, so many things went wrong, and yet you're still in first place. Like, what tells you can't somehow find the luck in the postseason? I don't know. Same with the Red Sox. I mean, if you would have asked me, we did our preseason predictions. I guarantee you I did not have the Red Sox in third place. I guarantee you I did not have them sitting 6.5 games back of the Baltimore Orioles and 4.5 back of the, or not even 4.5, 4.5, 3.5, 3.5 back of the New York Yankees for second. I would never have said it, but the Boston Red Sox are sitting right there. Like, it's just one of those years. I truthfully believe this is going to be a year where we're going to see a playoff that doesn't make sense. Like, the Dodgers will get bounced in the first round, or the Yankees will just get swept. And we're all here for it, right? We want to see the Yankees and Dodgers get swept out right away. But just something weird is going to happen. I just have that feeling when it comes to the playoffs. This season has been different standings-wise. I mean, where teams have been sitting all along, it's been weird. It's leading towards something different at the end of the year. It is.
Yeah, I definitely can agree with that. I mean, looking, I guess, more at the American League as well, a team like the Tigers, everybody's calling them about Skubal.
Yep.
Do they decide to make that move? And if you're the Tigers, it would make sense to do it because you'll probably get a bunch of prospects in return, and the Tigers are still rebuilding. A Rays team, the Rays are only 4 back. The Rays have a Rosarena that teams are going to be calling about. Do the Rays go ahead and pull the trigger on that? We've seen the Rays work magic before. They may be able to do it again. So, yeah, there's a lot of teams that have to make interesting decisions. And I think you made a good point, like a little earlier, that some of these teams that want to sell may not be able to find anybody to buy what they're selling. And also that I think that this weekend is going to be a kind of a benchmark for a lot of teams. Look, the Yankees face the Red Sox this weekend. If the Red Sox go in there and beat the Yankees in that series again, Yankee fans are going to lose their mind. Brett Boone. I mean, not Brett Boone. Aaron Boone's probably going to have some press conference going off, and that's going to put a lot of pressure on that front office to do something. Flip side, the Red Sox just signed Alex Cora to a 3-year extension. That shows that they're making the commitment to him. So if you're going to make the commitment to him, and you have a team that's only a game out of a wild card spot, give them the pieces then. But I think that front office went into this season expecting to sell because they didn't think they're going to be that good. But now they're surprised by where they are. And like I said, they have a strong weekend. You kind of have to buy at that point. Like if they get swept, maybe you can sell the fact that, yeah, we had a hot first half, but the wheels are starting to come off. So it doesn't make sense to buy. But if they have a good weekend series, then yeah, Red Sox fans are going to expect them to add an arm and a bat probably.
Yeah, you brought up an interesting one with the Tigers because I feel like they're one of those teams that's slowly building. They're close.
Mm-hmm.
They're not there yet. The tough part with Skubal is not the tough part. He is signed through 2027. He becomes a free agent. So this season he's making $2.6 mil there with the Tigers, and then he's going to be up for arbitration again, and then he's going to be up for arbitration again. So you got a little bit of control with Skubal there. I mean, how close do the Tigers feel that they are, right?
Exactly.
I think that's going to be this is why I'm not a GM of a team. This would be tough. This would be really tough. I mean, on MLB The Show, I can just force trade, so it makes my life a lot easier. But, I mean, it's just it's so tough because I feel like there's some teams that we're talking about where, like, they're just on the cusp of they could be good next season if they kept the core together and made it work. And then there's, the flip side of it where, like you said, Skubal, you make that deal, there's a lot of prospects coming back. I mean, I saw they were talking about the Orioles making that deal, and Jackson Holliday was in one of the mock trades. Like, that's tough. That's tough. You're talking about the number one prospect in baseball. Now he hasn't impressed yet at the big league level, but maybe going to the Detroit Tigers and not having any pressure on you at all to be good actually makes him good. That might have helped, Gunnar Henderson, Adley Rutschmanson, some of these other rookies from the Orioles. When they came up, the Orioles were bad. Like, that wasn't a good team. They came up, they weren't expected to do a lot. Everybody was just happy to see fresh, young faces in the room. And look what they are now. Maybe that helps a guy like Jackson Holliday going somewhere else to help pressure. I don't know. I'm just speculating here. But, I guess you just look in the mirror if you're the Tigers and you say, how close are we? The AL Central always seems to stink. Not this year, right? The Guardians just completely came out of nowhere, and they're unreal. I mean, they're tied for the best record in the AL. Like, I did not see that coming. The Twins are a good team, but what says that the Tigers can't figure it out next season? They add some pieces, I don't know. It's tough. I saw a crazy stat that the Tigers, when they scored more than 2 runs, they were like, I can't remember what the record was. They were like 20-1 at one point on the season or something like that. Like, that's how bad they, pitching was on that team at one point. I would make the move if, the Orioles come calling and they're giving you 3 top 10 prospects. Okay, like, see you later, Skubal. It's been real. We love having you, but we got to take this deal. Now, if nothing crazy prevents, if nobody says, hey, here's Jackson Holliday, or here's the number 10 prospect in all of baseball, maybe you hold on to him. I don't know. This is a guy that the Yankees would spend stupid money on, or stupid prospects on. This is one of those guys right here. I believe they're going to be calling just about everybody to try and improve the pitching and try to improve the infield. I could see them even calling teams like the Brewers and saying, hey, we know Willy Adames is in his last year of his contract. What do you want? What do you want for him? Like, I could see them making stupid phone calls too around trying to poach off of teams who really have no business selling, but they could probably make up an offer.
Yeah, that's a really good point. And I know we've talked about the Yankees a bit, also in the back of the Yankees' mind, Juan Soto's not guaranteed there past this year. So they have to attack this trade deadline knowing that there's a good chance Soto may be gone after this year. And you could be right back to square one of a lineup of Aaron Judge and a lot of question marks. So they probably have to do something to convince Soto to stay. I mean, we know Soto's going to probably chase big money. And you're going to have teams like the Mets that are sitting there hoping to get him to cross over into Mets territory and get him away from the Yankees. So that's got to affect their approach to the trade deadline as well. I know Jory added a comment about she needs her Braves to cut the BS out, because we did talk about the Braves a little earlier and kind of the weird situation that they're in with so many injuries, still playing well. How much do they add while thinking about some of these guys who could possibly come back? So I agree with you where you said earlier that this trade deadline is going to be not only interesting, but I think very active, because so many teams are in it. I think last year of the Rangers and Diamondbacks as two wildcard teams making the World Series changes the way that a lot of people look at their team now. Oh, Jory also says, as long as the Yankees don't do none, I'm fine. Well, we know the Yankees are going to try, because Yankees still have that mentality of, we're the New York Yankees. We're going to get who we expect to get. Unfortunately, that hasn't really worked out for them for the past several years, which factors into this trade deadline as well. A lot of pressure on the Yankees to win it all. I mean, they were the first team to 50 wins, and they've fallen off since then. And, you have a lot of upset, like grumbling Yankees fans that want that team to do something. Aaron Boone at this point might feel like a lame duck manager, because if they don't make a World Series, what's to justify him coming back next year? Nothing.
Yeah.
So if they're committed to him, they will make it happen, however that looks. Get some guys who can actually just hit for average. Doesn't seem that difficult, but for some reason the Yankees are allergic to it.
Yeah.
They're probably gonna chase some 220 power hitter from the left side, because that's what they feel like they need every trade deadline. And that's probably the move they're gonna make.
I could see them calling the Mets. I could see them calling the Mets and trying to get Pete Alonso. That just seems like a New York Yankee guy. Like, he's in New York already, but I don't hate the Mets as much as I hate the Yankees. I could just see him.
I don't either. Yeah.
I could just see him as a New York Yankee. I don't know why. Just something just ticks when I see him, where it's like, that is.
Could you imagine Frank the Tank if they traded Pete Alonso to the Yankees?
I don't know. I think Frank would be all over it. I think he's a Brewer fan now. He already switched allegiances. He's done.
Right.
He's done with it. He's like, I'm going to the Brewers now. I don't even know. I guarantee you this. There will be 3 moves. I'm going to call it 3 moves that'll just baffle you at the trade deadline.
Okay.
3 moves where you sit there and you, like a Pete Alonso to the Yankees, where you go, what? Like that really, they just made that move? Like, just something that just baffles you.
Yeah, because that happens every year. There's going to be some guy that gets dealt that it'll either be for not as much as you thought they would get, or for way more than you thought they were going to get. So I guess the last question I have about the trade deadline, I guess, before we get out of here, or unless you have your trivia.
We could do trivia.
Who do you think? Yeah. So this is the last question I have. Who do you think is the biggest name that gets moved?
Biggest name to get moved at this trade deadline.
Yep.
I feel like Luis Robert gets moved, but I don't know if that's going to be that huge. That's tough. That's a tough question. I'm looking through my teams right now. I don't know. Bo Bichette's not that big of a he's a big deal, but he's not a huge deal.
Okay, so I can change the question because yeah, that's probably a tough one to answer.
That's tough. That's tough.
So, which team will be the biggest surprise that makes a move this deadline?
Gonna be the biggest surprise to make a move. The one that would surprise me the most, the Mets.
Okay.
I would say if the Mets go and they make a huge move, that would surprise me the most. But my Wisconsin Brewer fan self is going to tell you if the Brewers actually make a move, that one would baffle me because they just don't. I don't get it. They don't. So that would be a baffling one for me too, is if the Brewers made a big deal. The White Sox. The White Sox are going to make a lot of deals, but it ain't going to be, them bringing in guys.
They're going to sell. Yeah.
Yeah, it's going to be a fire sale. Like anybody with a pulse that's still moving in Chicago will try and be sold at that. Yes. I mean, they still got what? Ellie Jimenez is still out there, right? And Moncada, I could see them trying to move him. Luis Robert, I could see him.
Everybody wants Crochet,
Fetty. The only problem with Crochet, and this is why I want my Brewers to avoid him, he's going to be a bullpen pitcher because he has restriction on how many innings he can throw on the season. Mm-hmm. So the only thing that teams will watch with him is you're going to have to use him as a reliever now. So that might change the outlook on Crochet, mm-hmm. but I mean, still an electric arm. So somebody's going to trying to make a move for him. Fetty is going to be the hot commodity. I think Fetty is going to be the big one for the White Sox that they definitely try to move. I was trying to see other guys on the White Sox roster. I was trying to think of other big names that they have. I can't, off the top of my head, I can't. White Sox suck so much. I can't think of anybody else on that roster that they think about moving there. Oh, man. I mean, Michael Kopech, maybe. Like, I could see them trying to move the bullpen.
He's a guy that comes up every year at the trade deadline.
Yep. Chris Flexen. I could see Flexen being a guy that somebody might take a shot on. You always have teams that take Paul DeJong. Could be Andrew Vaughn. That could be a move. Nick Senzel. I did not know he was with them, poor guy. Tommy Pham. Tommy Pham could be a team.
Tommy Pham, yeah.
Tommy Pham, Gavin Sheets. A name that many people don't like if they think they can fix him, Andrew Benintendi. Like if somebody wants to take on that stupid contract and see if they could try to fix that. I mean, Andrew Benintendi, we know that the guy can hit. It's just maybe it's playing in Chicago that really gets to him. I don't know. But I mean, that's going to be a fire sale. That's going to be a fire sale. The Athletics, I'm going to be honest with you. I don't know if it's a fire sale. I don't think they move on from Mason Miller unless if somebody comes in and offers them like 5 prospects that are in the top 10, like just something stupid. I don't see them making that move for Mason Miller. He's got like 5 years or 6 years of player or of team control yet. Like that's all the way until they're already in Vegas. Like, I don't know if you make that move.
Brent Rooker, that's what's looming over their head. It's that they're going to Vegas. You're going to have to have a product. Yeah.
Yep.
Even though they're gonna go into Sacramento first, but once they get into Vegas, you have to have an attraction. Exactly. People in Vegas aren't gonna go watch the A's if they don't know anybody on the team. At least Miller is somebody you know. Rooker is a guy that you know as well. So
could Rooker get moved? Rooker could be a guy that gets moved. Rooker could be a guy that gets moved. I could see that one. Nevin. I could see Nevin getting moved. I'm watching a bat right now against the Angels there. They're playing right now. I could see Nevin getting moved maybe. Outside of that, I mean, there ain't much. The thing with the A's is that there's not a lot to offer. Like if you're thinking big league ready star talent, they don't have a lot to offer. They don't have a lot. Pitching wise, I thought the Mets, honestly, if it wasn't for this last win streak, I was hoping the Brewers would call them up about some starting pitchers. Now I think that changes. I think that changes. I don't think they deal out everybody at this point. Maybe the Mets blow minds and they just start dealing guys off. I don't know. It's definitely going to be a wide open, crazy trade deadline, and I think it's going to start early.
Yeah, I'm definitely down for that. But yeah, I mean, if you have your, I guess, trivia question,
my trivia,
we'll go trivia to round out the show.
Okay, this one's way back in history. When was the first Major League Baseball game played?
Oh, jeez.
Back in the 1800s.
Yeah. I'm gonna say
it was between the.
So
let's go with it was between 1865 and 1880. It's between that.
Okay, that's actually pretty good because the number that jumped in my head was like 1835, so that would have been way off.
A little early.
I'll say probably like 18. I mean, George said 1870. I was gonna say like 1869.
1871. It was between the Cleveland Forest Cities and the Fort Wayne King of Gas.
If you look back at that time, some of the team names are going to be wild.
The
Actually,
Cleveland Forest Cities is crazy.
Baseball. Yeah,
that's wild. I can't even some of these names. I can't even pronounce them. I'd be like, "Who are you going to watch?" I really don't know. There. Okay, who is known as the father of baseball? That's tough. That's a tough one. Okay, you got it or no?
I have no idea.
Henry Chadwick is the father of baseball. This one you might get. Where is the oldest professional baseball park located?
Okay. Oldest professional baseball park located.
Don't look too far and too hard.
Okay.
Look in the American League.
Because I know Fenway is really old. Actually, I do think it is Fenway.
Final answer.
Is it not Fenway? Yes.
It is Fenway. It is Fenway Park. Fenway Park.
Fenway's been around forever.
All right, this is going to be.
They almost tore it down too because they wanted to put a ballpark on the water.
This is true. Just think of what could have happened with that.
Yeah.
Here you go. This one's going to be an interesting one. Which country produces more major leaguers per capita than any other country in the world?
Okay, this is a good one.
That's tough. I wouldn't have guessed this one.
Because if you run through it, you have a lot of Dominican players. You have, now with like the Asian infusion, you have like Japan, you have Korean players. But since you said per capita, I kind of want to think of an island, which would be Dominican. Curacao has some players in the league. I'll go Dominican Republic.
Curacao.
It was Curacao. Oh,
yeah.
And I know I brought them up for a reason because they're a small nation.
Yep.
Okay, that makes sense.
I couldn't figure out how to pronounce it until you said it, and I was like, "That's how it's said. That's what it says." Wow, that was a good guess, though. That was a good guess. You had it. There. All right.
Man. Which
player holds the record for the most MLB awards?
Wow. Okay. Most MLB awards. So you got to think it's probably someone who played for a long time.
Probably somebody who had a lot of home runs.
Yeah. Because there are obviously more awards available to hitters than pitchers. So I would say
a lot of home runs. Keyword there.
Right. That obviously makes you think Barry Bonds, Hank Aaron. Let's go Hank Aaron. Why not?
Here's the first one. Barry Bonds.
It was Barry Bonds. Okay.
I was about to say the guy with the pumpkin for a head, but I didn't want to give it away completely there. Who was the first player to hit 4 home runs in one game? That's back in the day.
Yeah. I mean, I'm
Yeah.
automatically going to think maybe Babe Ruth. You could think about.
Right team, wrong player.
Right. Probably like a Mantle, a Gehrig. Let's go Mantle.
Should have went with Gehrig.
Okay, I'm clearly in this mode where I'm gonna name the right answer, then choose the wrong one. Okay.
Here we go. Who is the only player in history to hit a walk-off inside the park grand slam home run? There's only one player to ever do it.
Walk off inside the park grand slam home run.
Played for the Pirates. There's an award named after him.
Oh, Clemente.
There we go. That's crazy. Walk off inside the park grand slam.
That is nuts.
Just imagine that happening in today, like actually being able to watch it live on television.
Yeah.
Like, that would be the wildest 30 seconds you have ever seen. Like, holy crap. I never even thought that was possible. Which player appeared at 5 different positions in an all-star game?
Okay. Okay, so let me think.
Guy had a lot of hits in his career.
And that's kind of where my mind was going, was like, there's a lot of hits.
A lot of hits. But not a lot of recognition. Got in a little bit of trouble.
Yeah. I guess it's Pete Rose.
Peter. It was good old Peter. Peter got her there. Oh, this one you might know. I think you know this one. Who was the only player to ever pinch hit for Ted Williams? It's a random name. First name is kind of a woman's name. Last name, I can't give it away completely.
Okay, so for some reason when you said that, my mind went to, because one, I gotta think, did he even play on the Red Sox? I don't know. For some reason, like Tris Speaker popped in my head. I don't even know if he played for the Red Sox. But I know it's a baseball player.
That is a baseball player, but it's not him.
It's not. Okay. Pinch it for Ted Williams.
Last name Hardy.
Oh, I have no idea who that is.
Carroll Hardy was the only player to ever pinch hit for Ted Williams. Interesting.
That is interesting.
Which team besides the 1971 Orioles have 4 20-game winners in a season?
Okay.
I'll give you the year. It was 1920. Okay. And it was an American League team.
Oh, I mean, you have to think of like one of the dominant teams of the 20s in the American League. I would say the Yankees.
Let's go AL Central.
Okay. AL Central. So let's see, 1920s. Who was dominant in AL Central? So we have Twins, Royals, Indians.
I want you to think of a dumpster fire.
I mean, Jory said Royals. Who would normally are a dumpster fire.
Okay, let's go with
dumpster Tigers.
Fire. No.
I mean, no, not Tigers. Sorry, White Sox.
1920 Chicago White Sox. There we go. There we go.
Yeah.
Okay,
Okay.
one last one. One last one.
All right. Let's
In
do.
which city was the first baseball stadium? First
Okay.
baseball stadium.
All right. So let's see. Cities that have been involved in baseball forever. You're looking at New York, Chicago, Boston. I'll say Chicago.
American League.
Okay. So New York, Boston.
Now remember, Boston is the oldest ballpark still, but there was ballparks before that. Just remember that
Right.
with your answer here.
Yes. Let's go. Oh, Brooklyn, New York.
Brooklyn, New York. Union Grounds. That's the one that ended on.
Yes.
That was the one that ended on right there. Bang.
Yeah, because when you said that, I automatically thought like Brooklyn or Boston or Chicago. So yeah, okay. I mean, those are some great questions.
Yeah, they were. I didn't even know the answers to them. I just had to, I looked them up as I was going.
Hey, it's all good. Yeah, I mean that's kind of usually how we end our show. So we definitely appreciate all of you for tuning in. We'll definitely have a lot to talk about next week, as we at that point would be past the trade deadline. So we will know which teams made moves. We'll obviously talk about that. Which teams didn't, that probably should have. We'll talk about that. And kind of which teams overpaid for somebody. Like we'll have a lot for next week. We'll have a clearer picture of probably some of these wild card races and divisional races. And who knows, there'll probably be another manager signing or maybe a manager firing by then. As we're getting closer to October baseball, the storylines do heat up. Before we get out of here, Jory did say that Brooklyn is a nice city, but New York City stinks. Hey, as somebody
With
that's
ya.
visited both, I can agree with you.
Taking shots at New York City before we end. Chicago sucks too. All right, end it.
All right. So, look, that's a good place as any to end it. So make sure you are back here next Thursday night for another edition of the Bases Loaded podcast. Go ahead and give us a like, follow, subscribe to Integrity Sports Network. Greatly appreciate it. And for myself and Trajan from Wisconsin Sports on the Go ahead and check him out. He's got his podcast going. You can find him, on your audio listening preference for podcasting. He's all over that. So make sure you check him out and show him some love. You'll see me on other shows on here or Chomping at the Bit, which is my podcast. You can find me wherever. So until next week, we're out of here. Enjoy the rest of your night. And hey, go Red Sox. Sweep those Yankees. All right.